The Long Winter by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Chapter 21, The Hard Winter. The sun shone again the next morning, and the winds were still. The day seemed warmer than it was because the sunshine was so bright. "This is a beautiful day," Ma said at breakfast, but Pa shook his head. "The sun is too bright," he said. "I'll get a load of hay as soon as I can, for we'll need plenty on hand if another storm comes." And he hurried away. Anxiously, from time to time, Ma or Laura or Carrie peeped through the frosty window to see the northwestern sky. The sun still shone when Pa came safely back, and after the day's second meal of brown bread and potatoes, he went across the street to hear of news. In a little while he came back, gaily whistling through the front room, and burst into the kitchen, singing out, "Guess what I got?" It feels like, Carrie said, but she did not quite dare say what it felt like, for fear she must be mistaken. "It's beef," Pa said. 4 pounds of beef, to go with our bread and potatoes." He handed the package to Ma. "Charles, however did you get beef?" Ma asked, as if she could not believe it. "Foster has butchered an oxen," Pa answered. "I got there just in time, every last bit to the bone and gristle, sold 25 cents a pound. But I got us 4 pounds, and here it is. Now we'll live like kings." Ma quickly took the paper off the meat. "I swear it all over well, and it's a pot roast," she said. Looking at it made Laura's mouth water. She swallowed and asked, "Can you make gravy, Ma, with water and brown flour?" "Indeed I can," Ma said. "We can make this last for a week, for flavoring at least, and by the time the train will surely come, won't it?" She looked smiling at Pa. Then she stopped smiling and quickly asked, "What is it, Charles?" "Well," Pa answered reluctantly, "I hate to tell you," he cleared his throat, "the train isn't coming." They all stood looking at him. He went on, "The railroad has stopped the trains until spring." Ma threw up her hands and dropped into the chair. "How can it, Charles? It can't. It can't do that. Till spring? This is only the 1st of January. "They can't get the trains through," said Pa. "They no sooner get a train through the cut than a blizzard comes, and it snows it in again. They've got 2 trains between here and Tracy, snowed under between cuts. Every time they cleared a cut, they threw the snow on both sides, and now the cuts are packed full of snow to the top of the snowbanks. And at the Tracy superintendent has run out of patience." "Patience?" Ma exclaimed. "Patience? What's his patience got to do with it, I'd like to know? He knows we are out here without any supplies. How does he think we're going to live till spring?" "It isn't his business to be patient. It's his business to run trains." "Now, Caroline," Pa said. He put his hand on her shoulder, and she stopped rocking and rolling her hands in her apron. "We haven't had a train for more than a month, and we are getting along all right. There's only this month, then February is a short month, and March will be spring." Pa encouraged her. Laura looked at the 4 pounds of beef. She thought of the few potatoes left, and saw that there was only a partially filled sack of wheat standing in the corner. "Is there any more wheat, Pa?" she asked in a low voice. "I don't know, Laura," Pa said strangely. "But don't worry. I bought a full bushel, and it is by all means not gone." Laura couldn't help but asking, "Pa, could you shoot a rabbit?" Pa sat down by the open oven and settled Grace on his knee. "Come here, Half Pint," he said. "You too, Carrie. I'm going to tell you a story." He did not answer Laura's question. She knew what the answer was. There was not a rabbit left in the country. They must have all gone south with the birds. Pa never took his gun, and when he was hauling hay, and he would have taken it if he had seen rabbit tracks. He put his arms around her as she stood close against Carrie on his knee. Grace cuddled in the other arm and laughed when his beard tickled her face as she used to when she was little. They were all cozy in Pa's arms, with the warmth from the oven coming out pleasantly. "Now listen, Grace, and Carrie and Laura," said Pa, "and you too, Mary and Ma. This is a funny story," and he told them the story of the superintendent. The superintendent was an Eastern man. He sat in his office in the East and ordered the train dispatches to keep the trains running. But the engineers reported that the storm and snow stopped the trains. "Snowstorms don't stop us from running trains in the East," the superintendent says. "Keep the trains running in the western end of the division. That's an order." But in the West, the trains kept stopping. He had reports that the cuts were full of snow. "Clear the cuts," he ordered. "Put on extra men. Keep the trains running. Hang the costs." They put on the extra men. The costs were enormous, but still the trains did not run. Then the superintendent said, "I'll go out there and clear those tracks myself. What those men need is someone to show them how we do things here in the East." So he came out to Tracy in a special car, and he got off there in his city clothes and his gloves and his fur-lined coat, and this is what he said: "I've come out here to take charge myself. I'll show you how to keep these trains running." In spite of that, he was not at all a bad fellow when you got to know him. He rode out to the work train to the big cut west of Tracy, and he piled out in the snow with the work crew and gave his orders like any good foreman. He moved that snow up out of the cut in a double quick time, and in a couple of days the track was clear. "That shows you how to do it," he said. "Now run the train through tomorrow and keep it running." But that night a blizzard hit Tracy. His special train couldn't run in the blizzard, and when it stopped blowing, he cut the package full of snow. He was packaged full of snow to the top of the snowbank. He had just thrown both sides full. He got right out there with the men again, and they cleared the cut. It took longer, but the time became that they could move more snow. But he got the work train through just in time to be snowed under by the next blizzard. You had to admit that the superintendent had some stick-to-it initiatives. He tackled the cut again and got it cleared again, and then he sat in Tracy through another blizzard. This time he ordered out 2 fresh work crews with 2 locomotives with a snowplow. He rode out to Tracy out on the first locomotive. The cut rose up like a hill now between the snowbanks that he had thrown up on both sides. The blizzard had packed earth and snow, frozen solid, 100 feet and tapering off for a quarter of a mile. "All right, boys," he said, "we'll clear her out with the picks and shovels till we can run the snowplow through." He kept them at it double quick and double pay for 2 days. There was still about 12 feet of snow on the tracks, but he had learned something. He knew he would be lucky to get 3 clear days between blizzards. So on the 3rd morning, he was going to run the snowplow through. He gave his orders to the 2 locomotive engineers. They coupled the locomotives together with the snowplow in front and ran the work train out to the cut. The 2 work crews piled out, and in a couple of hours of fast work, they had moved another couple of feet of snow. Then the superintendent stopped the work. Now he ordered the engineers, "You boys back down the train a full 2 miles and come ahead of there with all the steam pressure you've got. With 2 miles to get up to speed, you ought to hit that cut at 40 miles an hour and go through her as clean as a whistle." The engineers climbed into the locomotive. Then the man in the front engine got down. The men from the work crew were standing around the snow, stomping their feet and beating their hands to keep warm. They crowded in to hear what the engineer was going to say, but he walked up to the superintendent and said it just the same. "I quit," he said. "I've been driving a locomotive for 15 years and no man can call me a coward, but I'm not taking any orders to commit suicide. You want to send a locomotive up into a 10-foot of frozen snow at 40 miles an hour, Mr. Superintendent? You can get some other man to drive it. I quit right here and now." Pa paused, and Carrie said, "I don't blame him." "I do," said Laura. "He ought to not quit. He ought to figure out a way to get through it. If he thinks that way, it just won't work. I think he's scared." "Even if he is scared," Mary said, "he ought to do what he was told. The superintendent must know what's best, 'cause he's the superintendent." "He doesn't know what's best," contradicted Laura, "or he'd keep the trains running." "Go on, Pa, go on," Grace begged. "Please, Grace," Ma said. "Please," said Grace. "Go on, Pa. What happened next?" "Yes, Pa, what did the superintendent do?" Mary asked. "He fired him," said Laura. "Didn't he, Pa?" Pa went on. The superintendent looked at the engineer, and he looked at the men standing and listening. "I've driven a locomotive in my time, and I don't order any man to do anything I won't do myself. I'll take that throttle." He climbed up into the locomotive, and he set her in reverse, and the two locomotives backed off down the track. The superintendent kept them back for a good long 2 miles. Then they looked smaller than your thumb far down the track. Then he signaled with the whistle to the engineer behind, and they both put on the full steam power. Those locomotives came charging down the 2 miles of straight track with open throttles, full ahead and coming fast every second. Black plumes of coal smoke rolling away far behind them. Headlights glaring bigger than the sunshine. Wheels blaring, faster, roaring up to 50 miles an hour. They hit the frozen snow. "Well, what happened then, Pa?" Carrie asked breathlessly. Then up rose a fountain of flying snow that fell in chunks for 40 yards around. For a minute or two, no one saw anything clearly. Nobody knew what had happened. But when the men came running to find out, there was a second locomotive buried halfway in the snow, and the engineer crawling out from behind it. He was considerably shaken up, but not hurt bad enough to mention. "Where's the superintendent? What had happened to him?" they asked the engineer. "All he said was, 'How the dickens do I know? All I know is I'm not killed. I wouldn't do that again,' he said, 'not for $1 million in gold.'" The foremans were shouting to the men to come with the picks and shovels. They dug the snow loose and around the second engine, shoveled it away. The engineers backed it out and down the tracks out of the way, while the men dug furiously through the snow ahead to come to the first engine and the superintendent. In hardly any time at all, they struck solid ice. The first locomotive had run full head on into the snow, its full length. It was hot with speed and steam. It melted the snow all around it, and the snow water froze solid in the frozen snow. There it sat, the superintendent, madder than a hornet, inside the locomotive, frozen solid in a cake of ice. Grace Carrie and Laura laughed out loud. Even Ma smiled. "The poor man," Mary said. "I don't think it's funny." "I do," said Laura. "I guess now he doesn't think he knows so much." "Pride goeth before a fall," Ma said. "Go on, Pa, please," Carrie begged. "Did they dig him out?" "Yes, they dug him down and cracked the ice and broke a hole through in the engine and they hauled him out. He was not hurt, and neither was the locomotive. The snow plow had taken the brunt." The superintendent climbed out of the cut and walked back to the second engine and said, "Can you back her out?" The engineer said he thought so. "All right, do it," said the superintendent. He stood watching till they got the engine out. Then he said to the men, "Pile in, we're going back to Tracy. Work shut down till spring." "You see, girls," said Pa, "the trouble is he didn't have enough patience." "Nor perseverance," said Ma. Pa agreed. Just because he couldn't get through with shovels and snow plows, he figured he couldn't get through at all, and he quit trying. Well, he's an Easterner, and it takes patience and perseverance to continue with things here out west. "When did he quit, Pa?" Laura asked. "This morning. The news came on the electric telegraph, and the operator told Tracy from Woodsworth how it happened," Pa answered. "And now I must hustle to do the chores before it gets too dark." His arms tightened, and he gave Laura a little hugging shake before he sat Carrie and Grace down from his knees. Laura knew what he meant. She was old enough not to stand by him. She was old enough now to stand by he and Ma in hard times. But she must not worry. She must be cheerful and help to keep up the spirits of the others. So when Ma began to sing softly to Grace while she was undressing her for bed, Laura joined in the song. Singing, Carrie said to Laura hurriedly, so Carrie began to sing too. Then Mary in her sweet soprano voice. The sun was setting so red that the color had frosted the window panes. It gave a frosty, rosy light to the kitchen where they had all sat undressing and singing by the warm stove. But Laura thought there was a change in the sound of the wind and a wild, frightening note. After Ma had seen them all tucked into bed and gone downstairs, they heard and felt the blizzard strike. Huddled close together and shivering under the covers, they listened to it. Laura thought of the lost and lonely houses, each one alone and blind with the fury of the storm. There were houses in town, but not even a light from one of them could reach the other. And the town was all alone with the frozen, endless prairie, where snow...
Randy Joe Gildair.
Where snow... drifted and winds howled, and the whirling blizzard put out the stars and sun. Laura tried to think of a good brown smell and taste of beef for dinner tomorrow, but she could not forget that now the houses in town would all be alone till spring. There was half a bushel of wheat, and they could grind to make flour, and a few more potatoes, but no more to eat until the train came. The wheat and potatoes were not going to be enough.